recording. Okay, right. So good afternoon, boys and Pallavi. We are here back with the chapter 5, morphology of flowering plants. As the word says, morphology means study of external characters. Whatever we see with our eyes about an object, that's morphology. Okay, in this chapter we are going to study about flower and inflorescence. I think in yesterday's class I have told you what is a flower. We defined what a flower is. So you all understood that flower is a extension of shoot or modified shoot, wherein the shoot epic meristem changes to floral meristem, as you are seeing in the diagram. Okay, and we also said that flower has got both male as well as female reproductive organs, namely androecium and gynoecium. Okay, and androecium is the male reproductive system, gynoecium is the female reproductive system. And I said androecium consists of a slender stalk and a stamen stalk. So any flower that has got androecium is said to be male flower, or technically we call it staminate flower. Similarly, a flower has got gynoecium. Gynoecium consists of three things: stigma, style and ovary. Okay. Then we say the another name, common name for the gynoecium is pistil. We say pistillate flower. So pistillate flower is a female flower. And based on other aspects we classified flowers, but I think we can review that after some time. But basically what you should understand today, new thing is inflorescence. What do you mean by inflorescence? Yesterday I gave a clue to you that try to get a branch of tree that has got lot many flowers and keep on observing how the flowers are arranged in them. So this arrangement of cluster of flowers, cluster means group of flowers on the floral axis is called inflorescence. So commonly you say inflorescence is the arrangement of many flowers on the stem. So based on that arrangement, there are two types of inflorescence: racemose inflorescence, cymose inflorescence. As you are seeing, just by seeing the picture only you can understand the differences: racemose and cymose. See the diagram, see the picture. Based on whether the apex gets converted into a flower or continues to grow, inflorescence is of two types. That is, the stem has got two choices. One is to produce a flower, another is to grow and take branches. So based on this we have got two: racemose inflorescence and cymose inflorescence. Now you can see the way the flowers are arranged in racemose as well as cymose. So in racemose, as you are seeing in the picture, the main axis continues to grow. Look at the main axis, that green one, and you can see those red dots, they are all flowers. Okay. So flowers are born, as you are observing, on the lateral sides, means on the sides, left side, right side. So centrally there is a stem, right, axis, main axis, and on left side and right side you have got flowers, and in the tip also there is a flower. That is the racemose arrangement of flowers. So basically they are present on left and right, and one after the other. We say acropetal succession. Acropetal, you can see first it starts with left, then goes to right, then left, then right, then left, like that. This way of arrangement is called acropetal. And in cymos, as you are seeing, it is the main axis that terminates into a flower. See the tip of that main axis, and there it is giving a flower and termination. After that it won't grow, okay, termination. And it has limited growth, whereas in racemose it grows very tall, and the flowers are arranged in basipetal order. Basipetal means at the bottom you see small sized flowers, means all those fresh flowers in the form of buds. So you can see the buds at the base, and as it grows those buds will become or blossom into flowers. That means small sized flowers or new flowers, fresh flowers will be at the base, and as you go towards the apex, okay, big ones will be there, big sized flowers, old flowers will be there. And see in racemose, quite opposite. Big flowers, old flowers are at the base, and as you go towards upside, small flowers, fresh flowers are there. That means they are quite opposite. So many times in the examination he will ask you, write 3 differences between racemose and cymose. So will you be able to write at least 3 differences?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you need to draw a diagram for this, as it is shown here. Okay. No need to draw that photo, but diagram, okay, that you must remember. So basically he will ask you 3 mark question. What is inflorescence? Right? How many types of inflorescences are there? Write any 3 differences between the inflorescences you mention. So inflorescence is the way the flowers are arranged on the stem axis. Second, you write, based on the arrangement of flowers, there are 2 types of inflorescences. One is the racemose inflorescence, another is the cymose inflorescence. Then you put a box. In the box, put the columns. Left side racemose, right side cymose. Now, best thing is, the moment you put the table and write one side racemose, another side cymose, immediately you draw the diagram. Your first point should be diagram. That means if you draw a diagram correctly, you know that all the 3 differences you can write. What is that? First one you write, stem. Is it growing continuously, or is it stopping? In which one there is a limited growth of stem, and in which one there is a growth? In cymose there is limited growth, as you are seeing in the diagram, and in racemose there is a continuous growth. Correct? Next, where are the big flowers? In racemose, big flowers are at the base, bottom, whereas in cymose the big flowers are at the top, old flowers, big old flowers. What about young flowers? Fresh young flowers. In racemose they are on the tip, top side. In cymose, as you are seeing in the diagram, it is in the bottom. So first draw the diagram, then write these 3 differences. Finish. You will get 3 out of 3. Right? Now as we go, I think already we discussed parts of flower. What you are seeing on the right side, it is the VS of a flower, vertical section of a flower. Of course, I am sure all of you will be having in your own home this hibiscus, okay, dashala, hibiscus flower. It is the reproductive unit in the angiosperm. It is meant for sexual reproduction. A flower has a stalk. That stalk of the flower is called pedicel. Okay, let me expand that. Okay, can you see now? Yes. Look at that. See the stalk of the flower? Pedicel. And just above the pedicel you have a broad base. That's called receptacle. On the receptacle or on this base, all the 4 holes will come. Look at that. First it is sepals, green leaflets I said yesterday. I am sure all of you must have observed. And this group of sepals arranged in a hole is called calyx. Then you have colorful petals, second whorl, and group of colorful petals are corolla. Then you have got anther, androecium, anther and stalk. Then you have got gynoecium, and gynoecium I said three parts: stigma, okay, style and ovary. So these are the various parts of a flower, and you will see this when you take the flower and perform top to bottom cut. From you have to take a blade and cut the flower from top to bottom. Then you will see this, and the way you cut from top to bottom, it is called vertical section. Okay, vertical section of the flower. And when you come back to school, you will do this with the help of a blade. Even you will take the vertical as well as transverse section of the ovary. When you take the transverse section of the ovary, you will see inside the ovary rooms. They are called locules. How many locules are there? That also you will see, right? And without cutting, how you see? This is how you see a flower. So the other day you were asking, sir, what are bracts? See the bracts? Green small leaflets. And below that, of course, bracteoles also will be there. They are transparent, just like a plastic paper. Then sepals, then colorful and fragrant petals. Then you have the anther. Then you have the pistil. Okay, pistil or carpel same. Pistillate flower or carpel flower. And at the base, ovary is there. Okay. So come back, I am just making it shorten. Yes. Now see, a flower has a pedicel. Its swollen end is called thalamus or receptacle. And reduced leaf found at the base of the pedicel is called bract. What is a bract? Reduced leaf found at the base of the pedicel is called bract. And flowers with bracts are called bracteate flower. Bracteate flower. Bracteate flower. And those without bracts, they are called ebracteate. E means not there. Bracts are not there. So based on the presence and absence of bracts, we have two types of flowers: bracteate flower, ebracteate flower. Okay. Now again we are having this. Yeah, tell me. Yes.
Bracts will not exactly be like leaves. No?
Leaflets means small size leaves. They will not be like leaf. Definitely they will not be. They are small in nature. Okay.
It's like white color, like that.
White color, sometimes slight green color. Very small size, very small size. You have to observe carefully. Then only you will see the bracts. Okay. And yesterday already we have covered this: calyx, corolla, androecium, gynoecium. 4 whorls, complete flower. And the calyx and corolla, they are called accessory organs. Androecium, gynoecium, all of you know, they are reproductive organs. And separation also we are showing here. Right. See this? In some flowers like water lily, the calyx and corolla are not distinct. So it is termed as perianth. This is a new word for you. Sometimes when we go to floral formula, floral diagram, particularly floral formula, I will be writing the word P. P stands for perianth. Means perianth is equal to calyx plus corolla. Okay. Petals and sepals both fuse together and form tepals. The tepals, group of tepals is called perianth. Okay. This is a new word for you. And when a flower has both androecium and gynoecium, yesterday we said bisexual. Both the sexes are present. And on the other hand, if the flower has got only either androecium or gynoecium, then we say unisexual. Only one sex is present. Either it is male flower, staminate flower, or it is female flower, pistillate flower. So you have got staminate flower, pistillate flower, bisexual flower. Okay. And then based on, yesterday you were asking, sir, how to cut the flower? Now based on symmetry, there are 3 types of flower. One is the actinomorphic flower. Look at that. Yesterday somebody was asking, sir, how do you know that whether flower is actinomorphic or zygomorphic? Now when you cut a flower in any plane, whichever plane you wish, your liking, and you get two equal parts, then it is actinomorphic. You see the direction in which they are cutting. Whereas zygomorphic, particular axis only you have to cut, then only you get two equal parts. So we say bilateral, two sides. Bi means two, lateral means side, right side, left side. You get two equal parts, then we say zygomorphic. And some flowers you take in any direction, cut in any way, you will not get two equal parts. Then we say asymmetric, asymmetry. Symmetry is not there. Okay. Then in actinomorphic flowers, which we call radial symmetry, I think you must have seen this datura in your own home, mustard, sasave. I am sure datura everybody must have seen in your home. And all the children of farmers, Raitar Makkalu, you must have seen chili, mirchi, green chili flower. Okay, so you can see these photos. And zygomorphic also you can see the flowers. I am sure you must have seen this gulmohar, and many of you must be having in your home gulmohar tree. Okay, and shanku, that blue one, this one, that also you must be having, right? Cassia, all these flowers you must be having in your own village, in your own native place. And of course, many asymmetric you must have seen, all these particularly the decorative flowers. Look at that. Kenna particularly, very famous. So all these flowers you can see. And then types of flowers again, it is based on, as we said yesterday, how many petals, how many sepals, how many locules are there. Suppose a flower, as you are seeing, only three are there, 3 petals, 3 sepals, 3 locules, then we say trimerous. Okay. If there are 4 petals, 4 sepals, 4 locules in the ovary, then we say tetramerous. And 5 are there on the other hand, as you are seeing the photo, pentamerous. Okay. Hibiscus, commonly you must have seen, 5 parts will be there, 5 sepals, 5 petals, right? Pentamerous flower. Hibiscus is a pentamerous flower, right? Then also based on, yesterday we said, I think now it is very clear. Yesterday when I was telling you just from the text, I think you might have not understood, but now you see the diagram here, based on the position of the ovary. Hypogynous, perigynous, epigynous. Which is superior ovary?
Hypogynous.
Yes, hypo, yesterday I told, if you remember. Hypo, and you can see the diagram here, hypogynous flower. Look at that, see the position of the ovary. Ovary is superior, no? Other parts you are seeing, below they are arranging. Whereas, you can also see in next one, perigynous. See that, perigynous. We said neither superior nor inferior, equal. Look at the perigynous flower. Photo also you see. Yes. Almost all the parts are taking their origin in the thalamus at the same place. Petals, sepals, androecium, gynoecium, including ovary. So we say half superior, half inferior. Perigynous. What about next? Epigynous.
Inferior.
Epi means upon, over. So here inferior ovary. Ovary is down, as you are seeing in the diagram. See, ovary is down. Others are sepals up, petals up, androecium up. So we say epigynous is inferior ovary. I hope you understood this. Example, guava, cucumber, and of course sunflower. I am sure most of you will be having in your home. You must be cultivating in your field. So visit your field, your own field once today. See, check whether sunflower is epigynous flower or not. Right? Next, parts of flower I think already you know, you are very familiar. We discussed many times: calyx, corolla, androecium, gynoecium. Now, based on the calyx, calyx is the outermost one, and we used yesterday two technical words: gamosepalous. What do you mean by gamosepalous? All sepals are united. Look at the base, the rows. Sepals are united. Whereas polysepalous, you see, all the sepals are separated. They are free. There is no common point there. So gamosepalous and polysepalous. Gamosepalous, sepals are united. Polysepalous, sepals are free. Next, corolla. You can see same thing, corolla also. Here petals, gamopetalous, polypetalous. See the diagram. Petals are free and petals are united. And yesterday I said, basically corolla consists of petals which are having bright colors and very nice fragrance. Nice smell will be there. So because of that colors, the pollinating agents such as birds, bat, insects, they are attracted. Second, they have nice smell. Okay, because of that smell, the pollinating agents are attracted. Okay, now comes the estivation. Yesterday I think you were having a little bit of confusion. Now look at the diagram. It is very, very clear. What is estivation? It is the mode of arrangement of sepals and petals in floral bud. How sepals and petals are arranged. What is the estivation? We said arrangement of petals and sepals. How many types are there? 4 types. Valvate. Now I want you to focus on the diagram. I am just expanding it. Okay. Look at that. Valvate arrangement. I said yesterday, touch and go. They are arranged in the form of a ring. Twisted. Look at that. They are overlapping. Imbricate. One is out, one is in. One is out, one is in alternatively. And vexillary, I said 2 plus 1. This is the arrangement. From the base, 2 small ones, 2 big ones, and 1 big one, bigger one, I should say. So the arrangement in vexillary is 2 plus 1. I hope I am clear.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now I am just reducing it. We'll go particular one. Valvate. See the flower. Which is this flower?
Valvate, sir.
Okay. Have you seen this flower in your own home?
Yes, sir.
Yes. What is the name of it in Kannada?
Ikki gida.
Correct. Okay.
Yes, sir.
In English it is called calotropis. Calotropis. Okay. That means it is touch and go, petals and sepals. Next, we go to twisted. Now in twisted, there is overlapping of the margins. Now let me show the flower also. Yeah, look at that. China rose, hibiscus. There is slight margins only overlapping. Am I right? Look at that.
Yes, sir.
Only margin is overlapping, not the entire petal. Next, imbricate, third one. Imbricate. Look at that. There is full overlapping. Able to see? Imbricate.
Yes.
Now we go to in imbricate, Gulmohar you can remember. And now we go to last one, vexillary. In this there are 5 petals. The largest one is called standard. Overlaps with 2 lateral petals. Those 2 lateral petals are called wings, which in turn overlap the two smallest anterior petals called keel. That means you got one standard petal, over that or covering there will be two wings, covering two keels will be there. So let us see the photo of that. Yeah. See, this is normally you call it shanku, blue colored one, shanku flower, isn't it? You must have seen. Again, this should be there in your home. So there is a standard one. Wings are there, keel are there. Next, we go to the androecium part of it. Based on androecium. So it is basically composed of stamens. That's why we say male flower, staminate flower. So each stamen represents the male reproductive system. A stamen consists of stalk and anther. Each anther is usually bilobed. Bi means two lobes. One anther is having two lobes. You must have seen here. You can see with your own eyes. If you pick up hibiscus flower, you can see. So each lobe has three chambers, and those chambers are called pollen sacs, as you are seeing. Okay. Further, you can see the numbers. That is, yesterday somebody was asking, epipetalous. What do you mean by epipetalous? When stamens are attached to petals, they are epipetalous. There is attachment of stamen with the petals. When stamens are attached to perianth, they are called epiphyllous. Remember yesterday somebody was asking, what is epiphyllous? Stamens are attached to perianth. Then we say epiphyllous. See the photo of that, epipetalous and epiphyllous. Both the photos you can see. What is perianth? You must understand that. What is perianth? Yes? What is perianth? Just now I said. Petals plus sepals. Together is tepals. Group of tepals is perianth. And that group of tepals have got attachment of androecium. Then we say epiphyllous. Example, water lily. Is that clear? Next. Again, based on androecium only. Okay. I am just reducing it. Yes. If the stamens in a flower are free, it is called polyandrous. Stamens are free. There is no attachment. On the other hand, if the stamens are bunched, just like one bundle, then we say synandrous. So, polyandrous, synandrous, based on whether stamens are free or united. Next, we go to parts again, based on the number of stamens. Monodelphous. Stamens are united into one bunch or one bundle. Example, China rose, as you are seeing. Hibiscus, Dashala, you must have seen. On one stalk, there will be many stamens. So we say monodelphous. Then didelphous. Stamens are united into two bundles. As you are seeing, two bundles are there. The arrangement may be 1 plus 9 or 2 plus 8 like that. But there will be two bundles. Polydelphous, on the other hand, many. The stamens are united into more than two bundles, like citrus, lemon, okay, orange, and all that. So based on how many stamens are formed in the form of bundles, flower can be monodelphous flower, didelphous flower, polydelphous flower. Is it okay? I think we are coming into the time. Let's go to the last one. That is Based on Andreasen again, there may be variations in the length of the filaments within a flower. The filament, that stalk may be small or big. We go to gynoecium now, female part. So, as we said already, the gynoecium has got three parts: stigma, style, ovary. Okay. The gynoecium, the female part, has got three parts: stigma, as you are seeing in the diagram, and that tube-like structure is called style, and there is a broad base, that is ovary, and inside the ovary there is ova, female gametes, and there is something called placenta. Placenta is a tissue. To that tissue, a special tissue, the ova is attached. Okay. Then how many pistils or carpels are there? Based on that, flower can be classified into polycarpellary pistils or monocarpellary. Mono means only one carpel is there. Polycarpels, many pistils will be there. So, if there are many pistils, then again flower can be divided into two: apocarpus, syncarpus. Apocarpus means carpels are free, as you are seeing in the diagram, as well as photo: lotus, rose. Syncarpus, carpels are, okay, I think we are coming to end, last 5 minutes. Okay, no problem. Syncarpus, carpels are fused: mustard and tomato. Okay. Now we come to the last one, that is placentation. Okay. What do you mean by placentation? The arrangement, the way arrangement of ovules on the placenta within the ovary. For this, you have to take gynoecium. In that gynoecium, three parts are there, as all of you know: stigma, style, ovary. Now take the blade and cut horizontally. That ovary portion, no, bulged portion, you should cut horizontally. When you cut horizontally, you will get a diagram like this, where you can see I am expanding it. Yeah, look at that arrangement of ova, how they are arranged. When you take the TS, transfer section, see the arrangement of ova, or ovum singular, ova plural. All are separate now.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So based on this arrangement, yeah. Yes, Raghavendra.
Placenta in human beings, sir, it is related like this only, sir.
Yes. But there we have got only one placenta, no? The tissue. Here the placenta is divided, and the way the ova are arranged, we classify that into this following way: marginal placentation, axial placentation, parietal placentation, and free central placentation, and last one, basal placentation. Okay, basal. Now we go to the marginal placentation. Look at that, and I am sure the moment you see this photo, you know what it is. What is it? What is it? Particularly children of farmers, Raitar Makkalu.
Peas, sir.
Yeah, green peas. So it is marginal plant. How the ovary is attached, see? Only edge, no? On the tip. That's why it is called margin. It is attached to the margin. Here the placenta forms the ridge along the ventral suture of the ovary, and the ovules are born on this ridge, forming two rows. So, example, green pea. Then you go to second one. Let's go quickly. Axial means axis. I am just reducing it. Here the placenta is axial, and the ovules are attached to it in multicolored ovary. Now tomato, your favorite. You can see the seeds are arranged on the sides, particularly central one. Outside it is all fleshy part. Then we say it is the placentation is axial. Axial means axis. Then come third one, that is parietal. Parietal is outside margin, as you are seeing in the diagram. Here the ovules develop on the inner wall of the ovary on peripheral part. See, the two conditions are there. Inner wall, not outer. Inner wall, and it is peripheral. So ovary is one chambered, but it becomes two chambered due to formation of false septum. You can see the formation of septum there. One wall is there. So example, mustard. Then comes free central. So here ovules are born on central axis and septa are absent. No walls are there. Septa means walls. There are no walls. Okay. Primrose is the example. And last one, basal. Basal. Here placenta develops on the base of the ovary. See, base of the ovary, and single ovule is attached to it. Only one. Example, sunflower. So this is how we divide the parts. Maybe in our next class, tomorrow, we will talk about fruit. And you know, if someone asks you, what is a seed? Bija, bijapur, we say no? Developed ovule is the seed. And what about fruit? Developed ovary is the fruit. That's how you define fruit and seed. So tomorrow we will see this fruit, developed ovary, how this fruit will be formed, what are the various tissues that are present in that. Okay. So any doubts in that, you can share that in our group. I can answer that. Right. Take care.